but I haven't had a chance to weigh in on my Caitlin Clark. I'm kind of bummed about what happened with the WNBA this year, and I'm kind of bummed with what happened with Caitlin Clark. We just talked to Sal Palantonio, and he talked about the Eagles and winning a championship for them last year. They were the healthiest team in the NFL. The Indiana Fever, the exact opposite this year. I don't think any of this was nefarious. That's something I think I want to get out there. I don't think, ultimately there was a point in time where like hot takey Pete inside me was kind of like, wait a minute, are they not telling us the truth about her injury? We don't like, it's odd, right? I felt that obviously it was worse than we thought it was initially because she just didn't come back. And, the injury they were talking about her sustaining usually doesn't take that long to come back from. Now, we get word that she's shut down for the rest of the season. Again, I don't think she was like kept, like the possibility of her coming back was held from the public. I just don't believe, I don't want to believe that. I'm not that guy. But I will say, like, dude, after she got injured, right, the WNBA's national viewership went down 55%, right? This is according to the New York Post. So the New York Post, you can say what you want, but when they put numbers in there, they're accurate. Like their TV games early in the year, right? They were averaging like millions of viewers. After she gets hurt, they were down to like 300 and I think there's 340,000 viewers on an NBA TV game, and then 550,000. That's a 40% drop, right? That's according to Front Office Sports. And then the WNBA All-Star game, it was a dip because she didn't participate, even though it was in Indiana. And I think most importantly, something you can't quantify is buzz. And the WNBA really had a ton of buzz this season. And I hope for the WNBA that it comes back next year with the same type of intoxicating buzz that it had previously. My fear for the WNBA, and I think it goes back to a point that we talked about a lot, sometimes in an unhealthy way, earlier this year. Players in the WNBA, some of the WNBA legends that have come before these players today will take exception when folks are talking about Caitlin Clark and it's all about her. And she's the only reason that the league has become so popular that it's crossed over. I use the best example ever, man. It was Memorial Day weekend, and Christy and I were going to a party. It was like 3 p.m, and I legit made us late because the Fever were playing, I think it was Chicago. No, they're playing New York. The Fever was playing New York in Indiana on CBS, big CBS. And it was a tight game that went into overtime. And there was such a vibe watching that game that I was like, Christy, we can't leave. I have to finish watching this WNBA game. Something that never has ever come out of my mouth, right, prior to that afternoon. And like, that is all I look, man, we have to be honest. Like, the crossover is 100% Caitlin Clark. Like, that's why it crossed over. That's why dudes like me were watching that game. And it's not so much specifically about Caitlin Clark. It's about the buzz around her too, right? That brings in the casual fan. It's almost like oh, wait, am I going to be missing something if I miss this, right? And then as evidenced in the games themselves when she was healthy, and these arenas, right? Even the Sophie Cunningham incident where she threw Marina Mabrey to the ground after Mabrey fouled Caitlin Clark hard, like, that was in front of a packed house. And I think that game was at the Mohegan Sun. It wasn't the one they played in Boston. But like, and if you watch any of the one outlier is the San Francisco Valkyries. Like, they're just like unbelievable, or Golden State Valkyries, whatever they are. They're like, people are stoked. It's San Francisco. People are all about it there, the WNBA, and they're selling out all the time. And it's kind of neat too. It's also neat to watch our buddy Matt Lively, who was on Channel 6 here in Waco for a long time. not long, 3-4 years. Guy's this total star. He's now in San Francisco, and he's like the sideline reporter for these games because they do a great job putting Valkyries games on, I think, local television there for the most part. And he's the sideline guy for those games. And I see his stuff online, and it seems like they're just crushing it. And then you look at the numbers they are. When I had a meeting earlier this year at the NBA offices, and they talked about the WNBA and the NBA, and the Valkyries, their season ticket holder numbers would be like in the middle of the NBA. Like they're crushing it. But that's an exception to the rule. More often than not, we're seeing this great success around, or we saw that crossover earlier this year because of Caitlin Clark. She got hurt. There's zero interest in the league right now as we head towards the playoffs. That's got to be a scary reality for the WNBA, and also a scary reality for all the folks who were like, it's not all about her. It's about all of us. I don't know that it is. I always say Angel Reese is a star. And I think people are so quick to give her shit. And again, I was talking about her numbers last week. I mean, she's a walking double-double. I think, although I think the Chicago Sky is like, they don't want her around anymore. Everybody's too sensitive. Like she said what Angel Reese did. She said what 1 million NBA players and NFL players and Major League Baseball players have said before. Get me some help. These guys suck. Like Magic Johnson, he got Paul Westhead fired like in the middle of the year. Jason Kidd, notorious coach killer. It happens, dude. It happens. Michael, right? Okay, Doug Collins isn't working here. Phil Jackson. I mean, the best of the best of the best have made those types of statements. So let's all settle down, finding another reason not to like Angel Reese. But I was kind of bummed when she got hurt, and then I noticed that if I'm an example, I like women's basketball. I pull for it, right? And I'm quick to, when something interesting is going on with the sport, to really just snatch it, right, and hang right on. But I'm not like that right now, and I think that's because it's not that interesting to me, and in a sea of so much going on right now. So I'll be interested to see what, next year we could be wrapped up again in it. And maybe it's seasonal. Maybe it's, the season hits summertime and then we start talking about NFL training camps. I don't know. I think it's going to be a pretty interesting experiment because the WNBA has never been rocking like it was this year. Outside of when I was in college, the We Got Next, that was like a huge deal. But then it kind of, it was one of those deals, like opening night was huge. But after that, it was like, all right. I remember I was living in New York when Teresa Witherspoon hit the half-court shot against the Houston Comets. Now, New York lost, but she literally hit a half-court shot to extend their hopes in the championship series that year, which was pretty awesome. All right, I'm talking about Teresa Witherspoon hitting half-court shots, so it is time to go. The Pete Souza Show will be back tomorrow.